focusing on your breath, just the movement of in and out, or the sensation of air going through your nostrils, it can really bring you back into that sort of focus of being present. Hello, I'm Karen Mellers.
Hello there, I'm Dr. Rosy Daniel.
You've just tuned in to Alive and Loving It, and we're here to help you bring joy and energy back to your life. Oh, hello there. It is series 2. Oh my goodness. And we have a wonderful second series planned for you all. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all your downloads, your comments, your feedback, your encouragement. Following the first season, it's enabled us to carry on. Thank you so much. It means the world to us both, not just because you're sending us so much love, but we are thrilled this information and the guest stories are really helping you. That just warms our hearts, and that is our intention with this podcast. Well, I get to spend every Wednesday again talking to you, Rosy, for another 12 weeks. We had a little break over the summer to rest and regenerate. How are you, my dear friend? Are you ready to tackle our first topic?
I absolutely am, Karen, and I just want to add to what you're saying, that listening to the episodes has filled my heart with joy to get these crystal clear messages out there. And I keep on saying, gosh, I really agree with that.
I couldn't remember what we'd said until I listened back to them. It was all a blur.
No, it's a joy. It's a joy after 40 years of working in integrative healthcare to be able to share these messages, far and wide. So I couldn't be happier about what we're doing.
Well, it's my absolute pleasure to help you get those messages out there, Rosy. And my favourite topic, talking about health and what people can change in their lives to improve their life and to, well, like we say, be alive and loving it. So here we go, series 2. Our first topic then is the health creation principle, physical needs. Now, some people might jump straight to thinking that we're talking just about physical exercise. We are going to cover that. And of course, that is really important for your health and well-being. But this topic covers so much more than that, Rosy. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so I really felt moved to fan this out. And I think as a society, we're rather out of touch with our bodies. We sit at our desks, at our computers, often for, 8, 9, 10 hours at a stretch, and we become our mind and our eyes, and we forget, some of us, that we have a body. In fact, the Americans even call it sitting disease, where people start to develop metabolic syndrome, diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, and start putting on weight. And it's a very real thing. It's a challenge for me personally, because I can get so entranced with all of the ideas and the work and the fab stuff that's going on in this space. But we have to remember our body. And as well as the need for exercise and aerobic exercise, particularly where we can take in oxygen as we're exercising, what about strength? What about flexibility? What about posture? What about physical self-expression? Using the body to dance and to move and to climb mountains. I saw last night on Instagram a little clip of some young New Zealand women doing a haka. And I just, wow, just giving out all that strong energy. So the expression that we can give through our body is really important. And of course, one aspect of that is our sexuality, our sensuality. A lot of people can go to sleep on their sexuality if they don't have a partner, but actually it's innate in all of us. It's where the creative life force comes from. And I got particularly in touch with that when I did a tantra training, which was a lifesaver for me. So we could touch into that. But, so basic to all of this is that we need oxygen and we need light. You know,
Mm.
we are in our hermetically sealed, eco-friendly houses with, lots of insulation, but what's that blocking out? And we touched into this in our nature episodes, we need the oxygen, but we need the light. We don't just make vitamin D with sunshine. We make neurotransmitters and all sorts of other chemical things happen in our bodies. And clearly, I've gone into a bit of a rant here, Karen. But there's sleep, there's relaxation, and another very big topic that I love is breath and the yogic practice of pranayama.
So the first thing that I think we want to get across, Rosie, is that our physical needs is not just exercise. Our bodies need many other things, including all of those that you've just listed. So this is a really juicy topic. We've got 3 episodes on the subject. And I think what we're wanting to do is awaken your curiosity to those other things, not just physical exercise, because that knowledge has been out there for a long time, hasn't it? That we should move 20 minutes every day, at least. We should be walking. We should do cardiovascular exercise. But that where I want to go first, because you said something to me in the preparation, and it's really stuck with me, is I want to go to the mind-body connection first, if we can, because that's where you're an expert. I'm just starting to make this connection myself. What happens to my physical state when I am stressed, sad, angry, as opposed to being in a relaxed and happy state? So, in my work as an emotional resilience coach, when I hear somebody speaking about their emotions, telling me how they feel, I always ask them first whereabouts it is in their body. And what sort of sensation is it? Is it a contracted state, or is it an open or a tingling, or, what is the sensation? Because our body's talking to us all the time. So you said to me, Rosie, that's the grip. Oh, I was gripped when you said that to me. So let's talk about the grip.
Okay. Well, it sounds a bit like a horror movie, doesn't it? The grip. But what I mean by that is that most of us have got a place in our body where we take a grip if we're frightened. So for some of us, it will be at the solar plexus, and we constrict at the top of the stomach. And what does that do? It gives us heartburn and indigestion. Others of us take a grip at the throat, and we feel choked. We literally feel choked up in our throat.
Yeah.
There are others of us who take a grip, females, in the womb, and that can produce conditions like endometriosis, where you get bits of womb lining sort of going backwards up the fallopian tube and lodging in the surrounding peritoneal tissues. And a very common one is a grip in the anus, because we have 2 sets of sphincter muscles in the anus. We have the external and the internal sphincter muscles. And when we take a grip there, what does that do? Produces piles. So these are things, and there are others too. There's obviously a chest grip that results in asthma and congestion in our chests, or even heart pain. So I'm sure people listening will be immediately thinking, "Oh my goodness, is that what is happening? Is that why I get these different conditions?" And once you start to spot what your emotions are doing to your body, once you've got that awareness, you can begin to change it.
Absolutely. I think that's the key, Rosie, the awareness. Just making that connection between, every time I feel this pain in my body, or I feel this stiffness, or I've got heartburn, or whatever the symptom is, that is my body talking to me. What am I doing? I mean, when I work with people, I get them to make a diary. In nutrition, they make a food diary, but I also get them to make a diary of what they were doing at the time. And there's some huge aha moments. I mean, for me, I will get pain in my right shoulder, I get pain in my left hip. I've got scoliosis, a curve in my spine. And for a very long time, I thought it was physical. But then I realized the work that I'm doing on the computer that causes the pain, I'm stressed.
Mm.
I'm worried about something.
Yeah.
And the making that connection now, instead of going and do stretches or some sort of physical exercise, I will breathe.
Yeah.
I will meditate. I will go out in nature. So, I mean, let's go to the breath work. I know you are a huge
Yeah.
advocate of breath work.
I really am, Karen, and you talking made me realize I didn't even talk about the grip we take on our shoulders, which of course starts to affect the blood flow through our vertebral column. A lot of people don't realize that we've got a vertebro-basilar artery that goes up within the spinal column. If we're scrunched, that blood flow to our brain is compromised. And of course, then there's the grip of headaches, migraines and other tension headaches that can come, which can afflict life. But the breath is the bridge between the mind and the body. So I was very, very fortunate in my younger years when I was at medical school in South Wales to have an amazing yoga teacher called Philip Jones. And Philip had grown up in the mining valleys in South Wales. He was a young miner and had been very courageous and had become what they call the blast monkey. So he was the one who went right to the front and laid the sticks of dynamite. And of course, what did that mean? When the blast went off, he got the first, whack of the dust. And by the age of 28, he had was written off as a respiratory cripple with 100% pneumoconiosis in his lungs and also a spinal injury, a blast injury to his spine. But staggeringly, he found a book in Porthcawl Library by BKS Iyengar, the great yoga teacher, which was Light on Pranayama. So the prana is the breath and yama is work. And so he addressed himself both to the physical hatha yoga side through Iyengar's book Light on Yoga, and then the breath through Light on Pranayama. And he taught that to us in his yoga classes. So I went every Thursday for 7 years to his class through my medical training. And his sessions would always start with relaxation, but in every posture, he would get us to follow our breath and do these special exercises. And what it's given me is that awareness of what goes on with the breath with my clients. So, for example, a lot of us just purely breath hold. So we get frightened and we go into that freeze state where there's no breath happening at all. Yeah. Or I see anxious clients who are breathing tiny little breaths at the top of the in-breath, and I see depressed people who are very breathed out and are taking tiny sips of breath at the bottom of the out-breath. And this is meaning that we're not getting the full flow of breath in and out of the body. Now, in yoga, they're not only talking about the oxygen levels, they're talking about the prana, which is also called the chi or the vital force, because what they're saying is this flow back and forth creates like electric charge, which feeds the vitality or the life energy factor of the body. And the other relevant bit of all of this is that in Eastern medicine, all pathology is linked to stagnation or stuckness, or where things have just gone into, blockage. So it's a whole system. It's a whole science. He taught us that the yogis perceived us as having 72,000 channels for the breath in our system, the nadis they're called. And in more advanced yoga, you get to learn how to control the passage of the breath and the prana through these channels. So that's a massive subject in its own right.
Wow, I've heard you talk about that a number of times, but you've got to hear this a few times, haven't you? Still, as you were speaking then, and you were talking about, it's not just oxygen, but it sort of ignites the energy channels as well. That's making so much sense to me. I'm thinking about a couple of things. The first is the environment that I'm in and the amount of oxygen that is around us. So I know my body needs that. But when you were talking about the energy, like activating it, I just got this strange sensation of a softening happening as well in my body. That when I'm in that grip, everything's hard. It's like brace, 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 isn't it?
Yeah, it totally is.
And that's difficult when you're in that position to move your rib cage. There's little tiny muscles in between every single rib, and sometimes I have to trigger point mine because they've got so gripped, and that physically restricts me. But with the softening, the breath brings the softening to the body. And I could go on so much about what happens when we're in a soft state,
Yeah,
rather than that grip.
that's the thing to just notice now as you're listening. Have you taken a breath recently?
Yeah.
I had a client last week who's got early Alzheimer's, and I just noticed she wasn't breathing at all. She was like, it was like she was in suspended animation. And I thought, well, no wonder your brain is struggling to function,
Yeah.
because you're not taking in breath. So
Yeah.
anybody listening right now can just stop and just take a full breath in. Fill yourself right up. Fill that breath right into every part of your lungs, and then just whoosh it out. Just let go completely. And then take your next breath right up from your feet. Feel it expanding, expanding, expanding. And soon you will start to feel yourself soften, as you say. And
I can feel a little bit lightheaded, actually. That shows me how much I haven't been breathing this morning.
exactly. Well, every time we have that challenge, our breath gets a little bit limited.
Yeah.
So the breath is the mirror of what's going on emotionally that we can start to work with. And
Mm.
the beauty of this is it's like reverse engineering. In the yoga breath exercises, if you do a breath as if you were completely calm, guess what? You become completely calm. If you do a bellows breath, like you're running, where you're literally puffing the breath in and out, you get masses of oxygen, you get rid of your carbon dioxide, and it mirrors that energizing feeling as if you've just gone for a run.
Amazing.
And so on. There are many different techniques, and lots of these exercises are featured on YouTube. I go to an American website called allomoves.com, where in their mindfulness section, they have a breathwork section and some teachers of pranayama in there. And one of my clients used that for panic attacks. So when she was really in the throes of a panic attack, she'd go off into a loo or a, parked car or something, put on the track, and allow the teacher, a guy called Dylan Werner, to breathe her down out of panic and just give her body the message that all is well. So,
Well, it brings us back to ourself, doesn't it? It brings us back to the body. I would call it a grounding technique, that when we spend our time in our head, in our minds and whirling thoughts, we're not grounded. We're up in the air somewhere. And focusing on your breath, just the movement of in and out, or the sensation of air going through your nostrils, it can really bring you back into that sort of focus of being present, and everything starts to calm. Then the vagus nerve calms down as soon as you do that. Do you think it helps you to sleep better as well, Rosie?
absolutely, because you've touched into this question of the state of our sympathetic nervous system,
Yeah.
which we're going to address in depth when we look at stress. But most of us are not aware that, as well as the nervous system that's controlling our sensation and our muscles, there's an autonomic nervous system. As the name sounds, it's automatic. You don't have to regulate your blood pressure or your blood flow to your abdomen after you've eaten a meal or so on, but it's working away. And when we get tense and stressed and on our edge, all these things start to change the physiology in the body. But through yoga and all these other mindful techniques and meditation and relaxation and imaging, we have technologies to help us move ourselves consciously out of those stress states back into balance. Now, it's supposed to happen naturally, called homeostasis, same state, that if we've been stressed and frightened, that we go back into those nice balanced states. But unfortunately, a lot of us are living our lives like we're permanently being chased by a tiger. That we never feel fully that we're safe, or that, we're secure, that we're loved, that we're stable, and that we can go back into that completely relaxed state. So we have to take ourselves there. Now, just going back to exercise, actually, physical exercise releases endorphins, which are our natural opiates, and that gives us a feel-good factor. So as well as when you do raise your heart rate and raise what's called your VO2, the amount of oxygen your blood can carry, you not only get the boost of oxygen, you get stronger muscles, but you also get this buzz of, this lovely glow when you exercise. And that's what a lot of runners say that they just can't do without once they've got used to that lovely little glow.
I'm really enjoying walking, and I'm not sure I could be a runner though. I don't think my knees or my hips could take it. But I think I get the same buzz from walking. I'll share a bit more in later episodes, but I was once told that I wouldn't be able to walk far, and and I would be on a breathing machine when at night when I was asleep. And I'm getting endorphins just from proving that wrong. And that the more that I achieve with physical exercise, the better I feel about myself. So,
Wonderful. And I think nowadays, the government guidelines are taking us up nearer 45 minutes a day than 20. We are physical creatures, and we have to honor the body, and we have to find a way of honoring the body that is fun. Because if the gym bores you senseless, it's never going to work. But now I heard Angela Rippon the other day talking about dance. They are now saying that dancing is the best form of exercise, because it not only gives you the physical strength, it also gives you coordination, and all that kind of getting your body to do the right thing at the right time prevents Alzheimer's. But it's also social, because you're connecting with another human and tuning in and looking into the eyes and smiling at somebody else, if you're dancing with somebody.
Absolutely. And I think it connects you with your spirit. It connects you with the spirit of life. One thing I was just really thinking about as you were talking about dancing, and you said dancing with other people, is there's quite a lot of shame around dancing for some people. Like they've got to do it in a professional way or in a way that's acceptable. And I'm just doing some goddess work at the moment with a book by Kirsty Gallagher, who I absolutely adore. And she's talking about when you connect with your inner goddess, you let your body move you in a certain way. And there are more and more retreats coming up where you can go and you're encouraged to freestyle dance and move your body in a way that she wants to move you. And I'm just noticing this little bit of an edge with me of, will I look silly? Will I? So first of all, I've got to create that safety within myself. And I'm just dancing in the kitchen where I'm staying at the moment and getting used to that. and actually praising myself for doing it. Again, I'm bringing in the softness, because I can't dance and let myself go when I'm rigid. So it's all connected, isn't it?
It so is. And let's give a mention to the five rhythms dance movement. So this was has been around for 30, 40 years now. And these are groups where you can go and dance with others, but actually in connection with yourself first and foremost.
Yeah.
And it's broken down the session into different five basic rhythms. There's chaos, there's staccato, there's flow, there's stillness, and there's one other one that I just can't remember right now. But the music, the DJ plays and takes you through these different extremes. And because everybody's in there just being natural, you very quickly lose your self-consciousness. But the other thing about it is it's alcohol-free, smoke-free, and drug-free. A lot of people who love dancing have got really fed up with the idea that, to go dancing, it's got to be, in the wee small hours of the morning in places where people are completely stoned out of their heads.
Yeah.
So these are things that usually happen. It's worth just checking in where it's going on around you. But, there's so many biodanza and salsa and sarok. And the thing I like about things like salsa and sarok is that you are connected to another human and you are moving in rhythm and in flow, which I just find that's the go-to for me.
Yeah.
That's the kind of exercise that's easy peasy.
Well, we will continue the theme of dance, because our guest next week, the beautiful Louise Collinson, who is an amazing Pilates teacher, was a dancer first. So she found her profession through dance. And I'm sure she'll tell us a bit more about that. So let's keep talking about it, because it really fits with us as well, Rosie, doesn't it? It's joyful, it's happy, it's alive, we're loving it. I know one of the first times we met, we connected very strongly because we both absolutely adore Michael Jackson music. And I remember dancing on the dance floor with you at Willida and thinking, is this a doctor? She's my new best friend.
Well, it is my weak spot, Karen. I would have to put my hand up to the fact that, that my mind is stronger than my body, in that, if there's a job to do or something to read or a deadline, that's my go-to. So the habit I have to break is always, people talk about being a workaholic. It isn't even, because when I go on holiday, I can forget about work altogether.
Yeah.
It's just the level of fascination and the excitement and the pull into this work is so attractive for me.
Mm.
So, I have to find ways to literally, get myself down that road into a swimming pool or to dance. So, here's me confessing to
Yeah.
this being the challenge area for me. It's not always easy, but I think that one of the things that helps me is to have a buddy. If I'm going to meet somebody to go dancing or swimming or for a walk, or, get a buddy if it's hard for you.
Yeah, same for me. Make an appointment. We work, the work that we do is so intoxicating, and there's so much to do. And there's so many ideas that it is addictive. And actually, it could be one of our addictions, Rosie. I'm just realizing that it prevents us from facing what we need to face. Yeah, we'll talk more about that. But booking an appointment or, going to a class. But you've always told us in the lessons about change comes from daily repeating, consistency. And I now, yeah.
Message to self.
Are you writing this down? I now have a daily checklist, particularly in the morning. And what the work with the goddess, with Kirsty Gallagher, is helping me to make that change is to really honor myself first.
Yeah.
before I'm honoring any work that we do, anybody in my family, I'm honoring myself first,
Yeah.
and I'm showing up far better.
Yeah.
I
Well,
really am being my best self
when
now.
I came back from your beautiful women's circle at Broughton Hall with you and Joey, I
Mhm.
sat down and made an inventory of self care.
Yeah.
So, what are the things I need to do for myself first and foremost? And I was shocked because, in terms of the time it would take to do those things, to feed myself properly, to take my supplements, to do the exercise, and even down to stuff like moisturizing your skin or all the things, going to the
Mhm.
dentist, getting your hair done, etc., making up, it's a chunk of time. It's a
It
chunk of
is.
time. And I've, through my life, squished all those things right out to the periphery. So that's a lovely thing to do, is just to factor it in and see how much time you need to allocate for
Mm.
self-care. Not about becoming a raving narcissist, but just giving it some proper time and focus.
Exactly, and it is a shock. But when you first do it, and then you get that edge of, well, I couldn't possibly do all that for myself because I've got all of this work to do. You know, just be aware that you're working within a structure, within a society
Mm,
that has led us to believe that if you do more work or you work
mm,
harder, you're going to be more productive. I'm telling you, after the year I have had, it is not true.
yeah.
I don't, Rosie, I don't have a meeting before 11 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I could probably never be employed again, but I never have a meeting before 11 o'clock in the morning because I'm doing my morning routine.
Beautiful.
I have been traveling around the country. I must have moved 8, 9 times this in the last 12
Mm,
months.
mm,
I have started this podcast with you. I have done 2 retreats. I'm just about to do my third. I have launched my new business. Have I done more while I've been putting my self-care first? Yes, I think I
mm.
have.
Well,
Because, I'm breaking the mold.
my gorgeous friend Marigold runs a course called The Magic of Minimal Effort.
Mhm.
And, where she's just showing that actually, if we actually slim things down to doing what actually matters, but also if we're coming at it refreshed and clear and full of oxygen, and then stuff gets done so quickly and easily.
So quickly. Yeah. So there you go. Probably everybody will be not having meetings before 11 o'clock in the morning now. Well, just as we come to the end of this first episode in our series 2, talk to me a little bit more about sensuality and sexuality, because one of our physical needs is touch.
Yeah.
Rosie, I'm absolutely adamant on
Thank
that.
you for bringing that back into focus. Okay, so guess what? The first way we received love and comfort and security was through touch.
Yeah.
Obviously, we had the security of the womb, that feeling of containment. And then we had our mother's arms, our father's arms, our swaddling clothes. And, we've got all these acres of skin through which we can receive touch.
Mm.
And even our own touch, at one very dark part of my life, I learned to put my arms around myself in bed and just say, I love you. I love you with my own heart. You're beautiful, you're kind, and I love you. So, we can give ourselves that touch and reassurance,
Mm.
and also take time for the sensual. I can remember one hypnotherapy friend, Tessa, who I was trying to approach dieting in a different way. And she said, just take time to taste and feel your food. And she gave me a sultana. And she
Mm.
popped it in my mouth and she said, I don't want you to chew this sultana. I want you to experience this sultana for about 5 minutes.
Mhm.
Feel it, taste it, move it around, see it swell up. And she was saying, if we didn't, with our eating, if we actually tasted and felt what was going in, we wouldn't be taking more than we needed, because we'd be getting satiated through
Mm.
the sensory function. And of course, it's a whole nother episode, Karen, but, when we get sucked into TV and watching, Netflix and binge watching, we're switching off our senses and we're going into this stimulation that's just coming in on the brain channel. But there are so many ways to stimulate ourselves through our senses. And just one retreat I went on, we were invited to go for a sensory walk in the woods, and just to walk really slowly and really listen and really note what was coming in through our senses. So there's a feast out there for our senses. And you
Yeah.
asked about sexuality. I was very blessed to do a 30-day Tantra training over a year and a half with a group called Sky Dancing Tantra. And my teachers, John Hawkin and Hilary Spenceley. And it wasn't about yogic Tantra and becoming, Sting and Trudy and sort of scaling the heights of yogic Tantra. It was about coming into relationship with ourselves and intimacy and sensuality and being able to receive and feel pleasure.
Yeah.
Because, when we're overstimulated, stressed, rush, we get numb.
Yeah.
So this whole area is about reopening our senses. And the very first workshop I did in Tantra, they blindfolded us and they got us into a slight sense of sensory deprivation. And they did things like they crunched things by our ears, so we would have this heightened, and they stroked our cheeks with feathers, and they again popped something yummy into our mouths. And then finally they took the blindfolds off and they'd set the room with all kinds of beautiful sparkling things. And it was such a wow to be reopened to our senses.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So,
Oh, it's making me, I really just felt a sense of wonderment then, and awe and magic that life is, the world around us is,
yeah,
the flowers outside, the butterflies, the
yeah,
intricacy of how all the different shapes and sizes of life. We miss it when we're rushing at
yeah.
100 miles an hour. And can you please just say your opinion on sensuality and sexuality for women, menopausal women? Does it have to end at the menopause?
Oh my goodness, no.
Thank you. Thank you. You heard it here.
Yeah,
Can we just get rid of that myth? Yeah.
yeah. And I'm going to say provocatively, menopause is not an illness.
Thank you.
Menopause is a change, and I love Leslie Kenton's book, Passage to Power. So if
Mhm.
anybody's listening, struggling with the change, and it is a change, it's a change in our bodies and our minds and our emotions, but, it's a passage to power, to having more of yourself available to be the powerful woman that you are.
Absolutely. It's different, but it's not a disease. It's not to be cured, and it's not to try and stay younger. That's what I want to say. I am so fed up of watching people selling products, using products to try and stay younger, to keep the sensations as they used to be.
Mm.
I'm really enjoying exploring my body now, exploring that in relationship with my husband, to a point where the new sensations are there. There's a depth to it. It's
Definitely.
magical.
Yeah, definitely. And I think whilst, we may have possibly more libido when we're younger, as we mature, the depth of our sensitivity increases.
Mm.
And if we go down this path of creating intimacy and learning our bodies and learning our yes and our no, and creating that exquisite connection that can happen, of course it can be enhanced with tantric techniques, which
Mhm.
again a lot pivot around the breath, but also the voice, and understanding energy flow in the body. So that's a whole nother episode, Karen.
We're not short on content, are we? Well, I was just thinking there as you were listing all those things, what came to me was self-expression. Self-expression at any time of life, that is a physical need for us. And as we age, having the confidence and the courage to be self-expressive is so important.
And to touch, Karen, I saw a hysterical study which said that over the course of a lunch that Italian people touch each other 350 times, French people about 290, Germans about 150, and British people 5.
5. Oh my goodness.
And, so touching people, recently on holiday, I was in a club and feeling a little bit kind of, what the hell am I doing here? Having age inappropriate fun. And I smiled at a lady who was walking around with a broom in the dark. And she came up to me and she put her hand on my cheek and she just gave me a little kind of cooch on my cheek like you would a little child. And I just suddenly felt kind of, human contact. So don't be afraid to reach out and touch somebody, to stroke somebody's hair, to just cup their face, to squeeze the hand, because we feel it.
Yeah, well, we're huggers, aren't we? We hug everybody we meet, and whether they want it or not. So, oh goodness, I've really, really enjoyed this episode, Rosie, and I hope that we've shown you, everybody, that it is more than just physical exercise. This thing beneath our neck, it's that's in charge, and it has real needs. Listen to it, and hopefully we've awakened some of those awarenesses for you today.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, as ever. Absolutely wonderful to talk with you. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Alive and Loving It. We really hope that today's conversation has sparked your passion and shown you ways to open up into the vibrant life that's possible for you.
Absolutely, Rosie. I mean, we have to remember transformation begins with love, and that's self-love, love for others, and love for our beautiful planet. When you embrace love and you just allow yourself to receive as much as you give, you unlock the fullest potential of your life.
That is the truth, and we're here to support you every step of the way on your journey. So if you enjoyed what you heard today, please join our community, check out our trainings and our services and the events where we can all go deeper together. And do please send us your feedback. We want to hear your ideas for the podcast, who you'd like to see us interview, the questions you want to ask, and get answered through the contact page on our website, aliveandlovingit.org.
I can't wait to read them. And when you're there, be sure to sign up for our newsletter and updates. And what about following us on Instagram as well? We are at Alive and Loving It Community. Once you've signed up to the newsletter, you'll receive extra notes from today's show and more inspiration to help you live your most vibrant life.
Thank you for being with us. Keep shining, stay true to yourself, and remember, this is your time to live your fullest, healthiest life.
So until next time, keep doing what you love most in life. I know Rosie and I will be, always. We're so excited to connect with you on the next episode of Alive and Loving It. And we welcome you with open hearts to our Alive and Loving It community.